Hey there. So, this message is about the importance of protecting our children. So, this is coming from some experiences and some recent dreams. So, the last 3 nights, I had dreams back to back that were warning me kind of to protect or look after my oldest boy. The first night, 3 nights ago, was a dream where we were living in a foreign country and there were boys between the ages of 9 and 12 that were being kidnapped. And I had a neighbor come over and warn me to check on my kid. When I woke up from that dream, I went to check on him and he was fine. Thank you, Lord. The second night, there was another dream where I was not able to successfully get to my oldest boy. I kept trying to get into his room and there was something preventing me from getting to him. And that second night, I woke up and checked on him and all was well. So what I received from this is that the enemy is attempting to prevent me and my child from connecting, or the enemy is trying to get to my child in some way or another. So this brought me back from some experiences from early on. I remember being in this fight for my kid, my oldest son, being in this fight for him to prove that I had him at a young age, but to prove that I was good enough to be his mother, to prove that I was good enough to raise him. And so I felt from very early on there was many people who were trying to take him from me in different ways, physically, but also mentally and emotionally, trying to make him not love me or trying to turn him against me. And that's something that I've experienced with my oldest boy throughout his entire childhood. But it got even deeper than that. I remember at certain schools that he attended, I remember he would have such great experiences with certain staff members. He would tell me, come home and tell me all this great, experiences he was having with certain staff members. And once I go into the school and I meet these staff members, they would have this they didn't care for me. So then they started to treat my kid differently. They started to, not be so sweet and kind to him because of how they felt towards me. And even with my baby boy, I had him in 4 different daycares, and he's 3. I've had him in 4 different daycares because I've picked up on people's energy. Like, they would be nice to me. I would I would go check out these daycares intensely. But once, he started to attend, there would be different people interacting with him, and I would get a lot of great news back. But then when I meet certain people face to face, they oh, it's you. Like, they know me or something. Oh, it's you. And then they started to treat my kid differently. So I was constantly pulling my kid out of daycare. So those experiences, and also my own experiences, throughout my childhood, I was severely bullied, and I have been instilling in my kids to not be a bully, and also to not allow themselves to be bullied, to stand up, to speak up, to put a stop to whatever wrong behavior is happening, put a stop to it right away. So that's what I teach my children. If somebody's rubbing you the wrong way, if something feels odd, if something feels uncomfortable, to speak on it, not to let it, play out, put it into it right away. My kid had an experience at his new school, my oldest kid, where he was cool with a kid for a while, and this kid came over to our home, and everything was well. And then the next day the kid was ignoring him. And so I'm teaching him, do not go chase that kid. Let that kid be. It is what it is. But in teaching him that a lot of people hurt people. A lot of people are hurting or lacking in their own homes, in their own lives. We're all lacking in one way or another, but people are lacking something. And so they, tend to lash out or direct that anger or those feelings onto someone else, project it onto someone else. And so I'm teaching my kids, to change the norm You're not going to be the bullied, and you're not going to be a bully. You are going to stand up for what is right. You're going to change that whole concept. If you see someone getting bullied, you step in right away. If you are getting bullied, you stand up to that bully right away. You address them. I don't care how uncomfortable it might feel for you, and I don't care how uncomfortable it might make that person feel. Address it right away. Like, something has to change. So I feel it is important that we instill in our kids what is right and what is wrong. Picking up on energy, picking up on if you see somebody do something that rubs you the wrong way, do not sugarcoat it. You saw what you saw, you felt what you felt, go off of that and treat it accordingly. Another dream I had recently was about my mother, and my mother died about 18 years ago, so I was 15 years old. And so when I have a dream about her, I really my ears are open, because I really want to embrace that encounter in my dream and really enjoy the interaction. And so it's very rare for me to have a dream of my mother, but in this dream, I remember my mother and I were meeting up at a stadium. We were at the stadium, but for whatever reason, we could not get to each other. The whole dream was of me and my mother in the same location, but we could not reach each other. We were on the phone. We were saying specifically where we were, but we could not reach each other. And that was interesting, because it was similar to my dreams of me and my kid. Like, I could not get to him. It was interesting for that, that correlation. So what memories came to me, memories started to flood in after I had that dream of my mother. And one of the memories were when my mother was alive. I was a kid, and I remember she was surrounded by fake people. She was surrounded by people who really didn't genuinely love her, were using her for whatever it was that they felt she could provide. They were not really there for her because they loved her, they cared for her. Those were not the reasons. They were there for her. And I knew this early on. I felt I was always under my mom because I felt I needed to watch after her. I needed to listen and be her second pair of ears and protect her. So that's what I thought I was doing. And I just could pick up on the energy around her that something was off about these people. And I didn't know if she really knew. So I felt in the dream, it was something that was important that that she could have told me in our encounter. But the enemy was preventing that encounter from being successful, from happening, because maybe she was going to pass on some potent knowledge to me. But also, I feel like my mother was experiencing a lot of jealousy and envy and manipulation and controlling devices from the people that she surrounded herself by. And when she passed, or even before she passed, I was receiving it from very early on. And I feel like a lot of these people were not able to successfully control her because she died at a early age, so they couldn't successfully control her. So they turned their tactics and devices towards me. And so I endured that for a long time. But then I see whether it's these people moving off of their own agenda or it's the enemy in these people. But now I see that my son is experiencing a lot of the things that I experienced. And now I'm always but forever, throughout his whole childhood, I'm always preaching to him, having these moments where, like, a few times out the week, we're talking for hours about different things, and to be open-minded and watchful of things. And I feel like it's important that we enlighten our children, because if they know, they will have the tools to be equipped for whatever situation comes. Like we talk to our kids about stranger danger and things like that. They should know that there's good and negative energy. They should know that there's positive and negative people. They should know that there's wicked people. I'm not saying get too deep into it to where we ruin their childhood, but we have to enlighten them enough for them to be aware of spiritual warfare in a way. Not get too deep about it though, but they need to know so that they can be equipped, so they can protect themselves. Do it in an age appropriate way, right? So with my mother, I don't know if she knew exactly what she was dealing with, but had she known, if she had told me, I would have been able to be more equipped for the things that I experienced. I would have been able to be more equipped and protect myself better if I knew more about the wickedness in people. So I'm passing on a lot of the knowledge that I've received in my encounters with the enemy, people being used by the enemy, people making themselves my enemy. I'm using a lot of that knowledge and I'm taking it to God, and I'm asking God how to sugarcoat it. Well, not sugarcoat it, but how to water it down to where it's appropriate for me to pass it on to my kids, because they need to know, they need to be aware of their surroundings. They need to be aware so that they can dodge, maneuver around these people, but still be happy, not allowing themselves to be taken out or destroyed or broken. We have to break generational curses. And the best way to do it is to go against the ways we grew up, the ways that we were raised. Find ways to step outside of what we conceived or perceived to be normal as a kid. Teach our kids different. Do different with them. So I have so much more to say about this, but not much time. So I pray this makes sense. And I pray this reaches the right person, whoever it can help. I pray this helps, heals, and strengthens in all things we do. Let's give God the glory. And I will see you in the next video.